Welcome back to another episode of Scions of the Southland. It is Tuesday, January 28th. If you needed an update on the date, there have been a lot of things going on around the flats. It was a very busy weekend. Mr. Grant, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Went to practice tonight and played intramurals, so you could say I'm very sporty. But you can't because my beer belly exists now. But um, yeah, I did realize in the middle of your thing that by the time they hear this, it's no longer going to be Tuesday, January 28th. So they should probably not trust Scions of the Southland for their calendar updates. But otherwise, we got you covered on Georgia Tech sports and
Hey,
whatever.
date formatting and date encoding is hard for everyone. Okay, calendars are not software and people's strong suit.
Yeah, that's why they make all those freshmen in 1371 make them calendars. Gotta learn.
Womp
But
womp.
yeah,
All
such is
right,
life.
where shall we begin in the wide world of Georgia Tech sports, Mr. Grant?
Um, well, I think we should start with women's basketball, so that way we can be done talking about women's basketball because I don't think they've really changed all that much. Um, but they have notched 2 games under their belt, so it's at least worth talking about the results.
Yes, let us discuss. Women's basketball played. Let's see. I should have been more prepared for this introduction.
UNC and
Uh,
UNC and
UNC
Duke.
and Duke. So proud.
There you go.
They played UNC and Duke in back-to-back games. They lost to UNC 76-60, and I believe they lost to Duke 68-68 to 54. It was like 14
Uh,
points.
I think it was 6 points in the. I think 76-70 in the UNC game at home because I went to overtime, and I don't think it was a 16-point loss. That seems too big.
Okay, so maybe you don't
67-60.
trust us for the scores either.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So made it out to the UNC game in person. Um, biggest takeaway was probably that they got to kind of figure out who's got the hot hand a little bit better, especially from three. Um, there was a couple points where our 3-point shooting percentage was pretty abominably low. We started off hot, but then probably would have been more productive to take drives into the paint. A couple times we got fouled and couldn't get the 2 in before we took the shots from the charity stripe, and then we weren't that strong from the line. But all of that said, we did force overtime by draining a monster 3 with 11 to play. So I
And
guess
that
if they
was
followed my
versus
advice,
UNC, to clarify.
yeah, yes. But so I guess if they had followed my personal proclivities, they would not have gotten that 3 anyways. So I guess don't listen to me, but also please keep listening to me because otherwise we have no podcast. So yeah, thoughts?
Yeah, so I watched most of the UNC game and then I watched bits and pieces of the Duke game. And we've been spinning this yarn the entire time we've rebooted the podcast about this being a secretly great team, or at points a legitimately great team. But they either play down to their opponents or they suffer from the great ACC coastal curse of everyone being at more or less the same level of quality. And I think both of these things manifested themselves in these 2 games. I mean, the second game or the first game we went to OT, that game probably should have been won by UNC in regulation. UNC didn't have some calls go their way, and then they ended up they just got in weird foul trouble near the end.
There was a
Um,
lot of fouls called in that game. Yeah.
yeah, and then the Duke game whatever margin it was, I think it ended at under 10 points, but it was not an under 10 points kind of game. If you look at the
58.
game flow chart, yeah, if you look at the game flow chart, it Duke was leading by 12, 15 for the vast majority of that game. and Tech was only able to close it down late, and then let Duke get away at the end. So it's the same old story. It's they just have to get more consistent. Like you said, they need to ride the hot hand rather than spreading the ball around. And if someone's ice cold, like you just got to go by the data in that case and be like, okay, we can use this person to space the floor out, but we cannot pass to them.
Yeah. I think you very accurately said this after the Boston College loss, was that it seems like teams could or had figured them out. And I definitely think that's true. I think not that they've played all that different, but teams have kind of figured out our MO. So I don't know what Nell and the gang have got up their sleeves, but with the calendar turning to February and us wanting to hang on to a decent seed in the tournament, because it has been looking like that most of the year. Knock on wood. Yeah, no, it's just pick up or kind of figuring out the hot hand kind of thing. Way to make that scoring more consistent, because we have great scoring assets in players, especially like Francesca Pon and Jasmine Carson when she's hot. She
Kara
can really
Fletcher,
play.
who's pretty consistent.
Yeah, Kubai, Lodamai Latinen, but it doesn't
There's a lot
seem
of
like.
options.
Yeah, it seems like we could get more from our bench and maybe spread the load a little more, because, like, I don't know, when Francesca Pon's on fire, then the team plays well. When Jasmine Carson's on fire, the team plays well. But can't put the load all on one player's shoulders, no matter how good they are. You know?
The men have the same problem. The defense is top tier. Well, for the men, less so, but for the women, it is a very, very steely defense and a very, very effective way of playing defense. But the points are just not there. They definitely, when another team goes on a run, they struggle to keep pace at times, and that pace has outrun them in the last two games. Actually, the
Yeah,
last 3, 4 games, I would say.
they are certainly a team that plays streaky. Either when they're hot, they're super hot, or when they're not, they're pretty much not. And I guess the better way to put that would be to say that they need to spread the floor, to be able to get those, as Passner says, those kills where you get 3 straight plays where you don't, where the other team either misses a shot or gets a block, turnover, foul, whatever. Because if you can stop those before they start, you're going to have better game flow, better game management, keep yourself in the games before stuff kind of gets out of hand like that, like you were saying.
Yeah, so seeing is that, I don't know, it doesn't close the book, but definitely sort of is rewriting on the same page, if you get my metaphor here, for women's
Yep.
basketball. Let's see, their next games are at Miami on, what is that, the 30th, which is Thursday, and then
Yep.
at home versus Notre Dame on Sunday. So hopefully they fare better against both of those teams. Miami, I would say, is similarly ACC coastally. I think I haven't actually
Mm-hmm.
looked at the numbers. Notre Dame has been sucked down into that region as well because of just massive attrition over the last couple of years.
Notre Dame's what I like to call Warriorsing, where they completely fell apart just one year
Royalsing?
after they were in the championship game.
I mean, it's Warriorsing, Kansas City Royalsing, LSUing. I mean, there's a lot of recent examples.
LSU hasn't done that yet, but
Yeah, they have. Have you seen? They've lost like all of their juniors declared, all their offensive juniors declared, their quarterback, both of their wide receivers, tight end, and then almost all of their staffers have left.
I'll wait
They're
till
major staffers.
they actually fall into the abyss before I declare them dead. But yeah, no, I get your point. Yeah, no, you can't. It doesn't matter how good your head coach is, because she's one of the best in the business
Mhm.
over at Notre Dame. But Oh, they need to retool. They need to get out on the trail and recruit because they are not gonna really be getting it done with this roster, it seems.
Yep. It's just Muffin McGraw, like you said, is a very, very, very good coach. It's just that something happened in the last 2 years where they're now just playing all like it's a very underclassmen laden lineup, I think, or it's just not a very ACC women's basketball caliber lineup so far.
Well, you
And
know
it's
what team this most closely parallels, right? In my
oh
opinion,
boy, oh boy, please,
UNC men's basketball.
oh boy,
I just opened a can of worms with that, but
oh
I
absolutely.
mean, hopefully there's no UNC fans that listen to this podcast, and if there are, well, I don't know why you're here, but thanks for stopping by. I hope I didn't offend
Downloads are
you, or
appreciated.
maybe I did. Yes, we love the listener count, but your team kind of fell off a cliff, and that's not good, Chief.
However, uh, NC or UNC's men's basketball team does share with Georgia Tech's men's basketball team a win versus NC State. So that is a nice little segue into the next team we're discussing.
Wow, look
I,
at
I
you, old pro.
no, that was rough. I could do better. Anyway, work in progress. So men's basketball exists. That is the best way to put it. I don't know. They're not exactly the model of consistency. They're
They've won
9, 10
seasons in a
and
row.
11, 10 and 11 now.
Does the win against Morehouse count?
It's not it's not a quality win. I don't think it counts towards RPI either or
Well,
nets
they didn't
probably.
lose.
They beat the aforementioned NC State team more or less at the death. They almost let that one get away again. And
Mhm.
then they beat Morehouse down, and we got to see uh, David Didenko and who else got some nice minutes? Someone, Shabari Phillips got like a ton of rotational minutes. Uh, yeah, it was one of those games. Georgia
Shahid
Tech
get in
should
the
not be
game?
playing. Yeah, he drained a three too.
He got 2 minutes and 20 seconds of playing time.
That counts.
He got a steal and a foul. What a great
Yep.
time.
I mean, stats on the sheet. It's progress.
He was the only person who got in the game who didn't score.
I
R.I.P.
thought he hit
Shahid.
a three.
Shahid didn't.
Oh, Shahid. I thought you were talking about Didenko.
Yanko hit a three.
Okay, cool. Poor Shahid.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, ACC play continues again this weekend versus Notre Dame on Sunday. This is a weird lull week in ACC on the ACC schedule. I think everyone plays a out of conference opponent or just like a generally weird opponent this week usually. I feel like I speak for a lot of people when I say a high major like Georgia Tech, not as consistent or quality as they might be, should not be playing a D2 team on their bye week.
Correct. We played Yale like 2 years
Yeah.
ago. Get that back.
That's good. That is good scheduling. Morehouse, not so much. And also, that's just a lose-lose, even if you win the game, which we did.
Yeah, you lose to Morehouse. That's a.
Instant
I mean,
firing.
there's no tarmac. You can't tarmac Passner, but can you like put him out on the 10th
Locker room?
Street Bridge or
Parking lot?
like one of the spinning signs?
Morehouse would have been bad. Scheduling them is a lose-lose decision. That's sort of the book on it. They probably shouldn't have beat NC State. Alas, Jose Alvarado was the hero with a school record breaking 9 steals and also, I believe, a team high of 26 points.
Something
Um,
like that.
honestly, there's not much more to say on that game other than, man, NC State, Kevin Keats is not a winner.
No, he's not. And his team fouls way too much. I think they had 3 players with 4 fouls and another with 5, if I remember right. Like they played undisciplined basketball. And I was about to say that them getting Tech to the line was part of their downfall, but maybe that was part of the plan because they know we can't shoot free throws. But in the end, we hit enough of them and won, so that's good.
Yeah, honestly, not much more to say. Move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk men's tennis.
Okay, let's talk. So,
Yeah,
men's tennis swept
yeah.
at College Station by number 9 Texas A&M, but eked one out versus Oregon, 4-3.
Yeah.
What's
Oregon
the
was a good
deal?
win. Can we call the A&M loss a quality SEC loss because it just
I
means
mean,
more?
that's how you and Ethan put it when we were discussing this. And I would like to learn more about how you are coming up with this quality loss idea.
It'd be like if baseball loaded the bases in every inning but still got shut out in a game, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let me try to distill this into tennis terms given my inexperienced tennis knowledge. So basically they were in or took every singles match to a third set, but couldn't seal it.
I don't know if I don't think they all went to 3 sets, but like it's the same thing. Like
Semantics.
yeah, semantical point. But if you look at who did we play on Monday? South Carolina, right? We got swept by South Carolina, but in all those games, like and all those all those points, we were very much alive. It wasn't a Georgia Tech rolled over and died. It was shoot. 4 of them went to 3 sets. 2 of them, one of the ones that went to 2 sets went to a tie break, and the other one was bad. But like Georgia Tech wasn't out of any of those games. If you look at the box score from tennis in doubles, yeah, they got smacked in each of them, and doubles is usually our strong suit. But they were only down one in tennis. You win the doubles point by winning 2 of the 3 doubles matches. They were only down one in on court one, no less, when play was suspended in doubles, and then in singles. So they lost on court one to the number Anders Martin, who's a freshman, lost to the number 3 singles player in the country. The first set in a tiebreak, and this was more. On court two, Cole Gromley, another young player, lost the number 27 in the country in 3 sets. Pablo Shelcher lost to the number 10 player in the country on court three, 7-5, and then 6-2, which was a little more, but like man's number 10 in the country. And then number 105 in the country took on our Marcus McDaniel, who's also a freshman. And Tech was leading in the third set in that one. They were tied in the third set on court 5, and they were only down a game on court 6. Again, these are freshmen. Carlos Devar wasn't playing singles. Like these are, again, I'm probably talking too fast or not explaining enough, but I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 6 singles were in third set. One and the other 2, one lost in a tiebreak, and the other went to 7. So I don't know. It sounds like I'm doing a lot of justifying and like, oh, but like if you change this and you change this, then we would have won this and we would have done that, which is dumb. So I'm not going to. But I don't know. Georgia Tech. How do I put this? They're right and they're young. Their doubles have come along faster than their singles, which doesn't usually happen in college tennis with young guys. And they're doing all this in singles competition without their number 1 ranked player, right? And nobody else on this team is ranked except Carlos Devar, and the man can't play singles for whatever reason because he hasn't yet this year. So I don't know. I'm not gonna be too down on this team, especially with the solid win against Oregon. Oregon's a good team.
Okay. That was a lot of words. I understood most of them. When you're up against competition like that, uber talented competition, I think it's like when we talk about, here's a soccer analogy again, which is poor, but bear with me. We talk about some teams being able to just out talent others. Just when they step on the field, the talent level, there's such a gap between the two teams that they should be able to that talented team should be able to win with relative ease, or you can bet on that team to win like 99 times out of 10. But that doesn't mean the less talented team isn't going to give them a fight for it. And I think that's sort of what we saw versus Texas A&M. And to the weaker team's point in Oregon, probably. I don't know what Oregon's roster looks like, so maybe you can speak more towards that. But that's what it sounds like, at least.
First off, it's not a soccer metaphor. That's in every sport, every team, everything ever
Yeah,
metaphor.
but
So
I picked
very
soccer because
accurate.
it bothers you the most.
Thanks, Akshay. Good friend.
No problem.
Against Oregon, we won the doubles point, and the match of that we lost was the number 8 team in the country taking on a freshman and a sophomore. And then in terms of singles, we split that 3-3 with Oregon. Court 6 wasn't particularly close. That was a loss for us. The point we lost on court 3 was it twice in tiebreak, which is the most heartbreaking way to drop two sets. And then we lost on court 1. Anders Martin lost the number 14 player in the country. So I don't know. I like seeing Anders Martin getting back-to-back shots at the nation's best talent, right? And this is after getting Columbia, Illinois, and South Carolina in, all of which were ranked in the top 20. And these freshmen are seeing like great players, right? So I don't know. The saying, "Oh, it's 4-3," they barely squeaked by against a probably better team, based on how their numbers shake out. Or saying we got swept by number 9 Texas. Yeah, both of those are true, but it buries the lead. Not that it's not all as gloomy, but like I don't think it's gloomy at all. Like it's a bunch of freshmen and a couple sophomores, and then an injured star senior and Chris Young, who's also a senior. Like in 2 years, this team's going to be fantastic.
Cool. Moving
On to
on.
the women.
Women's tennis.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hit me.
Stay in tennis. This one's quicker because they looked dominant against Wisconsin, so we don't really need to dive into that too much. But the win against South Carolina, oh baby, they didn't just beat South Carolina; they handled South Carolina 4-1. Again, we just got finished talking about how the 4-0 against Texas for Texas A&M for the men isn't that bad, but for this women's team, that a disappointing year last year, but just a down year from the Final Four, to come back and kick South Carolina on their home courts, that's pretty darn good. Especially when you consider that Tech was either leading or like in the neighborhood on the other 2 courts. Like it wasn't like we hit the buzzer like it's done. Like Georgia Tech was very much in this match and in control by taking the doubles and taking care of business where they needed to. And Victoria Flores sealed the deal. No, she didn't seal the deal. The last court was court 3. But Vicky Flores knocking off a top 30 player was probably the unsung key to that match. So good for them.
Earned her a ACC Player of the Week.
Yeah, I believe so.
They are.
Yeah.
So let's actually go over their next fixtures. So men are facing Athens on Sunday at home, and then the women do the same on Thursday. So I got my dates in the wrong order, but there you go.
Yeah. It's hate week 10 buyers. I'm trying to get out there on Thursday. Hopefully my schedule works out. But Tech is 8-0. And the best part about them beating South Carolina is they get 1, 2, 3 more hacks at the 15 of the best teams in the country, right? So yeah, if they lose in first round, sure, but they're going to be seeing some good players. So, and maybe they'll win a game or two, and we'll be talking about how they became within a hair's breadth of an ITA indoor title, and that would be pretty dope too.
Yeah, I'll take it. I like quality losses.
Yeah,
cool.
Listen, the SEC.
But let's not go there. I have thoughts on that one in a variety of sports. Let's save that for another time.
Yeah, summer maybe. Um, but what else do we have? Track?
Track is up next. Let me read
Okay.
off what you wrote back to you if I
Okay.
have this open. So, track they were at Clemson last weekend, and the
Yep.
most notable point of that meet was Nicole Fegans. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Um, she demolished a quarter century old school track record in the mile with a time of 4:43:28, which was second place on that first day of the meet.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things and numbers in here, but I think we need to focus on a school record breaking. That's awesome. That's
Yep.
that is like half, if not a third of my mile time.
It takes you 12 minutes to run a mile?
Okay, exaggeration. Come on, laugh with me here.
Ha 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 ha.
Shut up.
Um,
Anyway, tell me more about how this meet went.
they were up in Clemson. They ran against a couple other teams. Got a decent amount of podium finishes. I know the dang it, was it high jump or long jump? I gotta pull this back up. Shame on me for not.
I can help you out with this. I see pole vault. I see triple
Yep,
jump. I
yep.
see mile, I see 400 meters, and I see long jump and 60-meter hurdles.
Oh yes. Okay, so definitely wanted to shout out Taylor Grimes because the long jump and the 60-meter hurdles, two top three finishes. Tech also had a good 4x400 meter relay, and that's another. That's a week after doing great in the distance medley up in Nashville. According to Coach, I need to figure out how to check this kind of stuff better. But according to Coach, um, a lot of these top five finishes that they got, and there were 10 on the first day and a couple on the second day. Many of them are top 25 performances in the nation, and a lot of them sit close to the top of the ACC, which like we talked about Directors Cup a little bit in the past, but if you can get kids to regional, those kids to nationals, that even if you don't have enough to win the team title, which is very hard in a sport like track or swimming or cross country to get those athletes across the board to instead of just the like otherworldly talent to win one race, you got to win a bunch. But if you can just get them like a couple races at the end of the year, then they'll see great competition, and it looks really good for the athletic program. So again, having like Bria Matthews back will be big. If Nicole Fegans can keep up with my on the distance events, that's only going to speak well to not boost our prestige, but like part of having a good program is outside football, men's basketball, baseball, women's basketball, softball kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean there's a number of finishes that just pop out to me. Third place in the triple jump. Let's see. Obviously, the second place that we talked about, 10 in the top five in total in a single day is very, very good. And
That's solid.
if they
Yeah.
can if they can continue that sort of form moving forward, I mean, team title, like you said, is a stretch, but
And that's one of those things about track is there's so many weekends where they split the team and so many weekends where certain people don't run or certain people run off events and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, again, I'll draw a parallel to swimming, like except track does schedule a little bit harder than swimming. But if you look at how their season is structured, I think I put the outdoor schedule on there afterwards. Yeah, I did.
hmm
Like it's really hard to, and again, this applies to swimming too. It's really hard to zoom out and say like, oh, like they only got X place at Florida State or Florida or Penn or whatever, because so and so might not be swimming all their off events or their normal events. They might not have stacked a relay. They might not have, this, that, and the other thing. So how I look at track um, is not so much what are their like finished places. I guess you look at the times in events like these, but like what is Grover saying? What is Courtney Sheely Hart saying? What are the cross country coaches saying? Alan, what's his face? I forget it. Trotsky. Yeah. But like if they're saying they're generally pretty candid, especially the track guys. If they're running well, they're gonna say like, "Oh, we did well," or "Gosh, like that wasn't good." There's not a lot of coach speak. So the fact that all the coaches are really high on it when they aren't usually ones to mince words on stuff like that, I'll take that as probably the biggest takeaway.
Yeah, they play, that's the wrong word. They go to, let's see, they split Florida State and Raleigh one weekend. They split Florida and Auburn next weekend and split team. I mean, they split the team for those. Then it's at Bama. They come back home for a meet. Then they split for Penn and Torrin Lawrence, which I don't
That's
really know where that is. Where
Athens.
is that? Athens? Okay. And then they have Duke and then Bulldog Last Chance, which I also assume is in Athens, just based on
Yep.
the name.
Yeah.
And then it's ACC. So it is a very, very full slate. And I mean, we're just talking about March to May. So that's probably like, I don't know, that's late March to May. So that's 9 weeks.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
12
9
meets in
weeks.
those weeks.
It's chock full and it seems difficult on the face.
Yeah,
I don't know.
and that doesn't include the rest of the indoor season too. So that it's not like they're like done until Yellow Jacket invite. They're still running all their indoor stuff. They got indoor nationals, they got indoor ACCs, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah, it'll
it's
be
good
it'll be
stuff.
interesting to see how they do. And like you said, I think it's the time finishes and the individual finishes that matter more than team.
Yeah, and I'll try and use this to kind of segue into what we want to talk about next. But if you look at especially the Penn relays on April 23rd to April 25th, going to that is kind of like seeing our when our crew team goes to head of the Charles in Boston. Like there's certain meets, certain events, whatever sport you do that are just how you say like your Super Bowl or something like that. Like it's the thing. It's Thrasher Cup for club hockey. It's I guess swim club nationals, but it's when if you're UVA, it's when you play Virginia Tech. If it's baseball, it's when UGA plays Georgia Tech at SunTrust. Stuff like that, and like Penn Relays is the oldest and most prestigious event in this sport. So like the fact that they're not going to win that. They're not going to come anywhere close to that, but they have a couple entries and they're going to do however well they're going to do and see the best teams in the country. And that's all you can really ask for.
Best countries, or best teams in the country, best talent in the country. Like you said, it's the Super Bowl for track. So okay,
All right.
cool.
But
They're off for right now. When is their next event? Do you have that
track,
offhand? Yeah,
yeah, I can pull that up. Um, allowing
Vamp.
myself to vamp. I think it's 2 weeks out. But it might only be one. Let me see. Scroll. That was January 25th. Yeah, so Bob Pollock. So they're back. They're going to split the team again. Or no, they're not. I lied. That's the next week after that. They're all, well, not, I say all very liberally. Some of the team is going to go out to College Station to go to Texas A&M for 2 days. Given that that's far and an invitational, I assume that it may not be the whole team or most of the team, but they'll get some athletes out there. Hopefully we see some good results.
Cool. So you did touch on our club teams. So quickly reviewing what has happened so far with club. Lacrosse started spring practice. I think hockey had a couple of games after the Thrasher Cup. That
Yep.
Thrasher Cup didn't go so hot, but I think they're back on track now. The last ranking that I saw, I want to say for the SEC HC had GT at fifth in the conference. So that's good. Could be better, but pretty good. And then you yourself were at swim club's meet. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Shameless self promotion. Also, hockey's off until this weekend, so they have not been back. I
Oh,
think the only club
that's
sport actually in
misreading the
action.
schedule.
Yeah, no worries. The only club sport actually in action was us. That's college club swimming's oldest rivalry or whatever. I think that's what we're calling it. But Auburn
It
and
has a
Georgia Tech,
belt.
yeah. We see each other twice a year, opening the fall and the spring. We go there in the fall, come back in the spring. Double them up at home. This is the first year that the belt hasn't been split by the home team taking it. So Georgia Tech took it in the fall and the spring. That's good. We are defending two-time national champions, but Auburn isn't really like they're good, but they're not that level. Sorry, Auburn. So I don't know. It's good to get out and swim. Our relays look good, and those are worth double the individuals. So just got to get everybody in the water and swimming. So at the sake of not fluffing my team's feathers too much, that's kind of the gist.
Cool. What's y'all's next fixture?
We're up in Emory on Saturday. Never been to that meet before. Should be interesting. That'll be an invite though, so we'll probably get more of a sense for what the rest of the South is looking like.
I think that's it for the main agenda. We had a
Yeah,
couple of other notes I think we wanted to touch on regarding football. So
yeah. Let's
National
just do
Signing
quick
Day.
hitters on that.
All right,
Yeah.
quick hitters. So National Signing Day is next week. I think it's the 5th. 24/7's rankings were updated today. Tech has been bumped down to 26th in the nation after that update, which is kind of lame,
Ooh.
but it's 26th and we're waiting on a couple commits, so it's fine. The name to watch, as has been since December, is Jameer Gibbs. Um, there are a couple other schools involved, according to some of the other reporting out there, but it remains to be seen who he's going to sign with. And he has until the 5th to make a decision. So we will see what comes up there.
Either way, I plan on respecting his decision. To all my Twitter people out there, there you go. Respect the
Also, don't
decision.
tweet bees. Don't tweet at Croots, please. Don't
Yeah.
don't tweet at Croots. I hate that I have to say this. I hate that this has to be publicly posted everywhere on the internet. Don't tweet at high schoolers, please. All right. Bad transition. Mr. Grant, what other recruiting news happened this week?
We got a second guy for 2021, an athlete out of Grayson, Jamal Haynes. We got a Vandy offensive tackle transfer, and they said he was one of the best linemen in the SEC, which, as we know, just means more. So looking
Oh,
forward to getting him on
it
board.
definitely raised some eyebrows, I think. And Vandy was very, very sad to see him go. So that's two grad transfers from the SEC, or I guess it's like the SEC's mid and lower tier, but you're still talking about two offensive line transfers from the SEC, uh, being called up to shore up what was the last ranked unit per PFF last season.
Woo! We love it.
Yeah, so there'll be some improvement. There should be some improvement. And then the last bit of news that we have is that the 2020 schedule is out. It starts versus Clemson on a Thursday night yet again. The marquee game that everyone is looking forward to is the Mercedes-Benz game on, I believe, November 21st,
Something
14th,
like that.
something like that. It's in mid-November, versus Notre Dame. And then, as always, it ends versus Athens, this time in Athens. Any quick thoughts on said schedule?
Your numbers said how many wins should we expect?
4.6.
I really am looking forward to the 0.6 of a win. That'll be a real doozy of a game.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about the numbers, I wrote a thing about that earlier this week. But yeah, the gist of it is the expected number of wins is a sum of all of the win probabilities in all the games. And yeah, that ekes out to just about 4.6. So There you go. Really, game over game, not so great. But if you add them all together, progress.
True.
All right. It seems we are running over each other's words and both getting fatigued this late on a Tuesday night. So, any final thoughts before we call it?
Nope. I'm going to bed.
All right.
All right.
So, I will see you next week, Mr. Grant.
All right. Hasta la vista.